What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Take 3 podcast. As always, I'm Brennan, joined here on a Saturday morning. Weird day. We usually do these during the week, but hey, the schedule worked out. We're here on Saturday. Obviously, as always, I'm joined by my guy, Alex. We're here to break down the AFC North. Obviously, they had the AFC's representative in the Super Bowl last year with the Cincinnati Bengals. Hell of a run, to go into Kansas City and do what they did and kind of was it lightning in a bottle? We'll kind of jump into that. Obviously, Baltimore's coming back. Hopefully, the whole team won't get decimated by injuries. Lamar Jackson with his contract situation, super interesting. How will he come out and play? Is he willing to go all out, or is he going to, hold up on some plays and realize I got to make my money still after watching guys like Kyler get paid, watching the other guy in Cleveland get paid. And then we look at Cleveland as well. They're super weird quarterback issues. We don't know who's actually going to play. We assume at some point Watson's going to get suspended. Originally thought it would probably be the year. Obviously, it's 6 games right now, but Roger Goodell's probably going to drop down a little bit bigger. And then we obviously have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have quarterback. The whole division's kind of, quarterback centric. Mitch Trubisky's there. Obviously, Kenny Pickett, 2 gloves, has sucked so far in camp. And I heard that Mason Rudolph could win the job. So it's like, the Steelers, I was kind of in on them being able to sneak out with that defense, win 9 or 10 ball games, kind of sneak in. But then it's like when I hear the QB play, I don't know, in the QB league. But so how are you feeling here on a Saturday morning before we jump into the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Fun division to talk about. They're not always this exciting. The AFC North, obviously there is some question marks about one of the quarterbacks, but outside of that, they're really good football teams and they're super competitive, and it's going to be fun to watch who actually goes out on top because, I got a feeling, but it really could be any team.
Facts. Yeah, I love the 2 at the top. I'm really interested to see how Baltimore comes back from all the injuries. Can they get back to their old style of football, which we're accustomed to with the running and their defense? And they kind of got away with that, got away from it last year when the running backs all died out. And then the defense really wasn't up to what it usually is. And then obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals, it's hard not to be excited about them coming into year 2 after that Super Bowl run. But let's jump it right off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They went 9-7-1. I almost choked that up. 9-7-1 last year with the tie. Obviously, that hilarious Lions tie. But yeah, I mean, obviously the big ad is they had George Pickens. They went out. He looks great so far. All I've seen is highlights out of that guy in camp. Hilarious draft day when he was drafted, but he's balling out so far. Obviously, the big minus is when you look at the quarterback position. No Big Ben. It's going to be weird. At least it's weird right now to look at a Steelers depth chart and not see Big Ben because he's been the quarterback there nearly probably basically my whole football watching life. Obviously, Najee Harris, that guy's a ball. I do have questions about the depth behind him. I don't really like Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland. I don't like what's behind him if he was to get hurt because they're probably going to use the hell out of him with the quarterback situation. And then when you look at the defense, I mean, on paper, they have everything you want when you have TJ Watt, Devin Bush, Miles Jack. They had cap casualty in Jacksonville. That was shocking when Jacksonville decided to do that. I love that ad. For the Steelers, it seems like they always have good linebackers. And then obviously Minkah Fitzpatrick, he got paid. Cameron Sutton's back there. Levi Wallace, corners a little bit suspect. But on the fray, how are you liking this Pittsburgh Steelers roster? And I'll just rip out the first question. Who do you see winning the quarterback battle out of camp and being the day one starter? I imagine it's going to change. I see it changing at least once or twice this year midseason just because of how weird it's going to be for them.
Yeah, so the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, I love on paper, right? We know about that coaching staff. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, and that's honestly pretty impressive when you consider the last couple of years for Pittsburgh. What's not to love about this roster outside of the quarterback position, right? Like everything on paper is what you want. They're loaded with weapons. I'm super excited to watch Pickens play, Claypool, Deontay Johnson as well, Najee Harris. The offensive line is a good offensive line, not a great offensive line. Definitely can get the job done. And then we've spoke about the defense. Cornerbacks can be suspect at times, but I love the defense as a whole, especially the linebacker position. Miles Jack as an addition, I just cannot speak highly enough of. But to the question everyone's like wondering with the Steelers is the quarterback. They signed Mitch Trubisky. They gave him I believe 2-year contract. He's definitely favored to be the starter, and I definitely think he's going to be the week 1 starter. To me, it's Mitch Trubisky's job to lose. There's a lot of reports from training camp. You already mentioned it, that Mason Rudolph's doing really well. It's his 5th year, all with the Steelers, right? So it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to me to see him win the job. Mike Tomlin spoke about like he likes being uncomfortable. He doesn't like taking the comfortable choice. That's his vernacular. So I could see him going with I don't think he cares about contracts or draft capital into Kenny Pickett or anything. He's going to pick the guy who gives him the best chance to win. And I honestly think it's Mitch Trubisky's job to lose. I think he'll be the week 1 starter. The real question is, does he last the full season? And man, that's a tough question to answer, because I feel like he could be anyone who gets the starting job could be covered up pretty well by the defense and continue to win games. And like if the quarterback's playing bad, but Pittsburgh wins games, it's kind of hard to justify a quarterback change. Like I know part of the people that really keep up with the team will understand, but I think like a lot of the public will be like, why change anything? You're still winning. So like, I feel like they could get kind of in a tricky situation here. And Kenny Pickett, I'm not sold on Kenny Pickett. I don't know if he's actually going to be that dude. I definitely think Mitch Trubisky is the week 1 starter. I have a hard time figuring out if he lasts the whole season or not, though.
Yeah, I love the weapons as well. When you have Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Chase Claypool, it's whoever gets the job. They're surrounded with good weapons, as you mentioned. The O-line, it's not the best ever, but it's good enough to get the job done. And then Najee Harris, so they have plenty. I'm with you. I think Trubisky, I'd be amazed if Mason Rudolph in his 12th year in the 3rd string role rises to the occasion. I mean, we've seen Mason Rudolph, right? He's just not, he's not a starter in this league. I hate to say it. So, I mean, I'm with you. Mitch Trubisky is for sure the guy. And I'm not sold on Kenny Pickett either. When they picked him, I was like, you guys reached. They were literally battling with themselves. And they reached, in my eyes, they probably, I mean, I would have liked, it sounds crazy, I would have liked that they took Malik Willis there. I think that would have been a way better pick. We've obviously seen him play a preseason game at Tennessee. He looks pretty electric. I don't put a ton in there, but I like the intangibles that Malik Willis brought to the table, and especially you could literally sit him a year. But yeah, I think it's Mitch's job. I don't know if he lasts the whole year just because Mike Tomlin's an oddball sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to see him losing to his competition. It's just, I mean, there's no way. I try to think of a way that I could spiral it. I mean, he could just be downright awful, right? And then, yeah, naturally lose it. But I don't, there's enough there around him, and the coaching staff's good enough to kind of get him through games. And as you mentioned, the defense, when you got guys like TJ Watt coming off the edge, you have everything on the defensive side. It'll set you up. That he just has to be good enough, right? Just be a little bit better than Big Ben was last year. And that's what it comes down to. So I can't really say if he'll last the whole year, because who the hell knows? As you said, I mean, he could lose 2 games, 3 games, and the fan base is freaking out. And Mike Tomlin says, okay, go get him Mason. And then Mason Rudolph's going to lose games because he's not a winner. But yeah, I mean, I like Mitch Trubisky for sure. I would put him cemented, for me at least, if I was the coach, as the week 1 starter. I mean, we've seen the Mason Rudolph experiment for years now.
And the interesting part with Mitch Trubisky, right, is like, do we put more of the blame on his play just like on him or Matt Nagy in that terrible Bears situation, right? Because we saw him at one point take the Bears to a wild card spot. He basically had won that game, right? The kicker double doinked against the Eagles. And like, that's what lost. Mitchell Trubisky didn't lose that football game. And then that team kind of got worse, and Matt Nagy was coaching for his job, and he went away from what Mitch does well, is like move him out of the pocket and extend plays, which is exactly what Pittsburgh has not had the last few years, as Big Ben couldn't even throw the ball down the field, couldn't extend plays. Now you have all these weapons. In theory, Mitch could definitely make it through the full season, extend plays. He's got weapons. He sat behind Josh Allen for a year. Hopefully he learned in that offense. They were so electric. So like, everything is here for Mitch Trubisky to take and keep the starter role for the entire season and impress people. I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world, but because like I'm really down on Matt Nagy in that Bears situation and what he was in. So it's really interesting to see because Mitch could light it up. I think he'll be good and not great, like very okay, but it is possible.
Yeah, I think he'll be average. I didn't even mention Pat Fryermuth as well. That's a nice security blanket underneath. Yeah, I don't think he'll be like crazy and go nuclear, but yeah, I mean, I think he'll be an average quarterback. He won't be as bad as Mason Rudolph would be, or as we've seen from Mason Rudolph. But yeah, it really is his job to lose. I mean, as you mentioned, yeah, the Matt Nagy situation. I think it's a little bit of both. Matt Nagy kind of ran his course, and then they went out and did the Khalil Mack thing, which and then paid him a ton of money, which then kills your weapons, right? The weapons weren't really there. The O-line was dog shit in Chicago, and it kind of went. We always see that when the coaches are on the brink of getting canned, everything goes to shit. So it was a rough setup. Next question that I really have for Pittsburgh is, what do you think of their depth at running back? Obviously, I imagine with this QB situation, they're going to use a lot of Najee Harris in year two. They just have to, and kind of to second, it's a double question. And will the defense get back to what we're usually used to, right? Steelers, Ravens, we're usually used to top 10 defensive units. Last year, the Steelers finished 20th in total defense, kind of took a step back. So it's like, is that unit going to jump back? Because they're going to need that unit to probably rise into the top 10, and they're going to need a lot of Najee Harris. The first question is, do you like the depth behind Najee Harris? They kind of need him to hold up badly when you're looking at Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, Jalen Warren, guys that are not proven, right? They could maybe go out and sign a veteran back if they wanted to, but it seems like they're leaning heavily into Najee. And then, yeah, and second question is, can the defense kind of carry them through some rough stretches and improve on their 20th finish in total defense last year?
Yeah, so Najee Harris is just going to be a workhorse, right? He's going to get a monster amount of touches. He got so many touches last year as a rookie, which I think he'll handle fine, but it does kind of concern me for the longevity throughout the entire season. The AFC North is going to be a blood battle. Like, you're going to need Najee for the long run. I could totally see Najee getting banged up and missing a couple games. With that being said, we're going to see Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. We saw Benny Snell handle some games in the past where he ended up having to step up for injuries, and he's definitely capable in like a very small window. What I mean by that is 2 to 3 games at a time. If Benny has to start and like take most of the touches, I think that'll be fine. It's all about Najee Harris, right? I think the depth is okay. It'll be interesting. The Steelers seem to always find people that can just run the ball. So I do think Benny Snell and McFarland is enough. It's just interesting to see if Najee stays healthy for the entire year, because I can see a scenario where he misses 1 to 4 games just because he gets kind of beat up. And then you'll have to lean on Benny Snell or Mitch Trubisky or whatever's going on, which is what they want to pull away from, right? So the depth, it's enough as long as Najee can handle the full season. And it wouldn't surprise me if they end up signing a running back or two at some point. And then just to the point of the defense, I have to go with that. They're going to return to an elite form just because the amount of talent on that roster, and Mike Tomlin's the coach. To me, if it was like Vegas odds in those scenarios, it would be a minus. Like, we're talking about proven guys that know how to play at a really high level, and a coach who's literally never had a losing record. I have to believe that the defense will return to form. It just feels way more likely than not.
Yeah, the Najee one for me, I'd like to see somebody else back there, not named Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland, just to kind of feel good. I mean, I think Najee overall will be able to hold up the guys. Just he seems like one of those guys that's just built different. And yeah, you're right. They're going to run the hell out of him, use him in the pass game. They're going to use him any way they really can. So yeah, I mean, I could see him missing a game or two, but I think overall he will be fine. I just like having, I mean, in today's NFL, I like seeing a second back. We see it in Cleveland. Well, we did with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. We don't know how that's going to work out, but we see a lot of teams go into that 2-back rotation. So I just like to see another back that's kind of proven than having to trot out there with the Najee Harris, Benny Snell duo. We have seen a little bit of Benny Snell, but I'm not 100% sold on that. And then as far as the defense, I don't know if they're going to jump into the top 10. I think they'll be better than 20th. I think they'll probably be closer, I don't know, 15, 14, 13, kind of in there, just because of, at times, I think the offense is going to be a little rough with the quarterbacks, depending on how that shakes out. I don't know how their offense is really going to look because we haven't seen them play, but I just think it's going to be tough that defense could get leaned on a little too much. And then we see how teams, when the offense isn't pulling their load, it kind of wears on the defense. Extra possessions. The corners kind of concern me as well out there. So I see them improving on last year just because they're not going to be that bad, but I don't see them jumping up into the top 5. Really, really back to old Steelers football, which I grew up watching just because I don't know what you're going to get out of the quarterback play.
That offense not like hurting the defense is a really good point, because we saw the last few years where they could not move the ball at all. That defense was on the field for so many snaps. So that's definitely something I'm sure they're looking at limiting this year. And I'm sure they're excited to have mobility at the quarterback position to hopefully not be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Yeah, for sure. In an ideal world, yeah, if Trubisky can extend drives and you're not going 3 and out. And you obviously don't have a quarterback that struggles to do a basic 3-step drop like Big Ben did last year. In a perfect world that could, but I got to see what the unit looks like. I got to see what quarterback actually wins the job, what they look like. So there's a lot of factors before I can say, in a perfect world, yeah, they can make the jump, because obviously you mentioned there's enough talent out there. I love when you got guys like TJ Watt, Devin Bush, Miles Jack, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cameron Hayward's on the inside, Larry Ogunjobi. So they got guys. It's just how much are those guys going to get relied on every week to cover up for the offense if the offense is kind of bad again. And then really last question, it's a pretty simple one for the Steelers. Can they somehow steal this division? Mike Tomlin, as we know, he's the master of 9 and 8 seasons, having winning seasons. Can they somehow steal this thing? We mentioned the talent, can they do the job?
100% they can. It's just so tough because this division is so damn talented. But if I look at this team and this roster on paper, I feel it's disrespectful to say they don't have a shot to win the division. They have a shot to represent the AFC if they get good enough quarterback play. It's a big if, right? That's their biggest question mark. But the roster is so good around the quarterback position that I feel it'd be disrespectful if we counted them out. They 100% have a legitimate chance.
Yeah, everybody has a chance. Well, everybody besides the team that's going to be missing their quarterback for more than half the year in this division has a chance. Yeah, the Steelers have a chance. It's a very small chance in my eyes. It's hard for me just to project. Obviously, when you have Baltimore and Cincinnati up at the top, both have solid quarterbacks. Everything's there. Yeah, they have the talent. So, yeah, they have a chance just naturally with Mike Tomlin and the program's solid. But it's a very small one for me. There's a lot of things that would have to go perfect for them to steal the division in my eyes.
I got one more Steelers question for you before we move on.
Yeah, go for it.
We got 3 wide receivers. Pickens is a rookie, but I think he's going to be very good. I think they have 3 really good wide receivers. So who do you think is going to finish the season leading the team in like yards? It just is basically who is their number 1?
Wowie. Oh, wow. That's tough. I haven't even seen any of Chase Claypool. I was kind of down on Chase Claypool after kind of the last year. The dude has the talent, but he's super immature. I don't know. I'm going to go wild card. I'm going to go with George Pickens, the rookie. I'm going to roll with him. I don't know. It seems like he's having a huge camp. The connection's there. So I'm going to roll with Pickens. I haven't seen a single highlight out of Claypool. Obviously, Deontay Johnson got paid. So, maybe they're looking to incorporate him. But I'm going with the hot hand. I'm going with the guy that I've seen so far for the past couple weeks.
I like that. Pickens, I think, is going to be a monster. I asked this specifically because I heard Chase Claypool on a podcast, and just the way he's talking about himself as like a top 3 guy. He definitely has the talent for it. As you said, he's immature. There was a TikTok thing. He danced in a 2-minute warning drill, 2-minute drill, like when they were losing and he got a first down that wasted time. That looked incredibly bad. So I was just so curious on the stance of Chase Claypool because he has the ability, but I don't think he'll be their number 1. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson just because he got paid, and I think he'll have less targets because he was basically so force fed last year. But I still think he's the dude. But Pickens, Johnson, and Claypool has an outside chance. So like pretty talented wide receiver group.
Yeah, facts. They got a lot of talent out there. That's a good question. I never really thought of it like that, but I'm definitely down on the dudes that do TikTok dances and 2-minute warnings and games that you got to win. I'm down on those guys. But overall, after going through the entire Steelers season, I had them once again squeezing out 9-8. It could potentially, I doubt it, put them in play. Maybe for a wild card, I doubt it in the AFC, to be honest, but 9-8, Mike Tomlin does it again. I think they'll get good enough quarterback play, a notch up. It's not a big notch, but a little notch up from where Big Ben was last year. And I think the defense will be a little bit better than they were last year. Gives them 9 wins. Seen a lot of Steelers fans, I don't know, ones close to us that are kind of down on them, saying that they're going to suck and this isn't it and this isn't it and that and that. But yeah, 9-8 from me for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2022.
I'm not far off there. I think they're going to be a damn good football team. I got them finishing 10-7, 3-3 in the division, and I have them barely missing the playoffs. They certainly could make the playoffs at 10-7, be a wild card team. The AFC is just so damn talented and stacked. There's going to be playoff caliber, really good teams that just miss it, and I think Pittsburgh is one of those teams, 10-7, and they barely are outside of the playoffs.
For sure. Yeah, the AFC is so tough now, but Steelers, I don't know. The fans shouldn't be that down. At least the guys close to us shouldn't be that down. Let's move on to a team that probably has way bigger problems than the Steelers. We're moving on to the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, one hell of an offseason, coming off an 8-9 year last year. Obviously, Baker Mayfield is now out. And they bring in Mr. Deshaun Watson, questionable things surrounding him. Obviously, 6-game suspension now, which I mentioned at the top, probably going to get extended to probably 10, I'd imagine. It sounds like him and the NFL are going to come to a settlement. He obviously did that little interview last night. I think that was like a behind-the-scenes agreement with the NFL. They're like, hey, you got to start owning up to this stuff, which he hasn't really done the past 2 years, year and a half. I kind of did that. So as of right now, it's Jacoby Brissett that's going to start for them. Obviously, they come back with Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt requested a trade. I guess the Browns said, screw you. So they're kind of sitting on that. He wants an extension out wide as well. I forgot to even mention they went out trade with the Cowboys, got Amari Cooper. They still have Donovan Peoples-Jones, and they bring in David Bell, Anthony Schwartz as well, who's a burner. And then on the defensive side, obviously it's hard to ignore Myles Garrett. They bring Jadeveon Clowney back. And then Denzel Ward's back there, Grant Delpit, John Johnson, Greedy Williams, Greg Newsome. I love their corners, to be honest. Super all athletic corners. I really like that. But obviously it's hard to kind of talk about the Cleveland Browns without literally starting off with what's the plan, Deshaun Watson. What is the backup plan? You think? You could go out and get Jimmy G for dirt cheap. I'd find it crazy that a team like this, that they don't have their first round pick, right? They sent all that away to get Watson. Is just going to completely punt on this year and say, yeah, we'll roll out with Jacoby Brissett. But what is the Watson backup plan? And if you were in charge, what would your backup plan be, knowing that he's at least out 6, probably 10?
Yeah, so definitely, just for the sake of this discussion, I'm going to assume that Deshaun Watson misses about 10 games, which kind of really puts a damper on their playoff hopes, I feel like. And to the backup plan, I think in-house, like on like the coaching staff and everyone in that organization, I feel like they already have the backup plan. I feel like they feel confident in Jacoby Brissett. He has NFL experience, obviously. He's had many games where he started. He's definitely won a good number of football games. He's not a great quarterback at all. You don't want him starting for your franchise really for a full season, to be honest. But I think they feel that Jacoby is good enough to get the job done. I think they would go with Jimmy G if they could get him for extremely cheap, right? Obviously. But I don't necessarily think that's a realistic scenario. I do feel like in-house, they feel like Jacoby Brissett can get the job done. Let's say he misses 10 games. He's probably got to go 6-4 for them to realistically still have a chance with Deshaun Watson. The issue with Cleveland is their schedule gives them no favors, right? So it's going to be tough with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. I just feel like the organization feels like it's doable. Maybe it's a little bit of arrogance, but like the coaching staff is good and that roster is damn good. Wide receiver position, I think, could be a little bit better offensively and like the linebacking position. But in general, the roster is pretty damn talented. The offensive line is great. You got really good running backs, obviously. So, like, I think they feel in their mind Jacoby Brissett can game manage and be enough to like weather the storm.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably their plan. I don't like it. We've seen Jacoby Brissett, saw him wear Miami last year. It didn't work. And we saw him obviously with the Colts. I don't know. I mean, I don't like the Jacoby Brissett. If I'm running the Cleveland Browns, I'm finding a way to Jimmy G is going to be dirt cheap, right? There's nobody that needs him right now. I mean, I've heard that if he's not moved by August 30th, the 49ers will straight up cut him. And then there's no risk to really have him, right? Because you can have him and then Watson comes back. There's no long-term risk. You can just say, okay, Jimmy, like, you can keep him for the rest of the years to back up and then ride off into the sunset, get rid of him. Next year, I can't roll into a season with Jacoby Brissett as my quarterback, knowing that I don't have any, that my draft picks are going to Houston. So you're basically punting on the year. Obviously, everything around him, yeah, I'd like a better second wide receiver. Nick Chubb, I mean, they could run the hell out of Nick Chubb. But it's just like, I don't know if defenses are going to respect Jacoby Brissett one bit. Not that they would really respect Jimmy G that much more, but Jimmy G's track record is a little bit better than Jacoby Brissett's. Obviously, he's been to a Super Bowl, and then you hope your defense can be good enough with that run game and find a way. I just can't go into a season with Jacoby Brissett. That's what they're going to do, and I'm going to laugh it up because they deserve everything that's coming for even going out and trading for Deshaun Watson. But I mean, I wouldn't be if they're excited or they feel good about rolling out Jacoby Brissett, man, they're in for a rude awakening.
Well, that's why I kind of prefaced it with it might be some arrogance within that building, right? They feel like they just got the people there. They'll put Jacoby there, watch us win games still. But I want to go back to, if you're Jimmy G, obviously if you're traded, right? Whatever. But if you're cut and you got some team options, why would he want to go to Cleveland? He's obviously not going to be the guy there. He feels like he should be a starting quarterback in the league. And to be fair to him, all he's done is really win games when he's healthy. Like whenever he's healthy and he plays a full year, his teams are always damn good. Now, granted, really great coaching staff, great rosters. There's a lot of pieces in place for him to be really good. But to be fair to the guy, I don't know why he'd want to go to Cleveland because that's not his job, right? It'd be extremely temporary. If he's okay with that, sure. I just don't think he would be if he has the choice because, like, man, when he starts, all he does is really win games.
Yeah, my only thing is what other team in the league are you going to go to with this type of setup, with this O-line, with Nick Chubb, with guys like Myles Garrett, with the corners they have on the defense, with a roster that's kind of there. Yeah, you can go to Seattle, right? You could go sign with Seattle and play with the who's who. You're going to throw balls up to DK Metcalf and get the shit smacked out of you for 4 quarters for 17 weeks, right? If you want to play 17 games, go ahead and do that. I don't think he would even last 17 games because he would get the shit beat out of him that bad. I just think everything's set up there and it's a 10-game showcase, right? There's no real perfect situation, but you could go in, play your 10 games, be the backup. That's even if Watson only gets 10 games. Somehow Tamari gets the whole season, but say it's just 10 games. You get a 10-game showcase and then you just get to sit back, right? And then you realize going into next year, you put yourself in the best possible spot as a free agent to other teams. I just don't see what other team, if you're Jimmy G, would you want to go to? I mean, he sat for 12 years behind Tom Brady. He's kind of done that long enough, right? You can go to Tampa Bay and sit there. You could go to the Rams and sit there. You could go to Buffalo and sit there. But I think if he wants to play football games, I would take the 10 games with this roster over going to somewhere like Seattle and just get the shit beat out of you.
The 10-game showcase point is a damn good point because if you show out for 10 games, you're gonna get some offers. But like most of the teams that have really good rosters, like you make a good point, like they're established, right? Like there's not good options. You're right. He would have to go to a Seattle, but that would be his team and his franchise, a little bit different. So maybe he prefers that, maybe he doesn't. But like my only thing is if he does a 10-game showcase and he's good and he gets offers next year, it's hard for me to see that. Like, I don't know if there's a lot of really good rosters and everything. Like, I don't think it would open up much 1 year later, right? Like most of the really good teams have their quarterbacks. I don't know, a lot of variables there. It's really interesting. I wonder what Jimmy G actually thinks, if that's even on his radar.
Yeah, I wish I knew. I'll tell you that one Carolina Panthers job will be open next year, 100% for sure.
That's better than Seattle for sure.
Yeah, but that's next year, right? So you have to go play 10 games, go play for Cleveland, show that you can actually ball, show that your shoulder is not shot completely, play a little bit of football, and just play the waiting game and then bang. Because I think we already covered the AFC South or the NFC South, but Baker sucks, Darnold sucks, and then bang, you could just walk right in there. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to know what Jimmy G thinks too, right? Does he want to play football or does he just want to kind of chill there? Because he can go pick a team and sit back, right? I guarantee you, somebody like Buffalo, any of the Super Bowl teams would love to take him, just sit there as a backup, right?
Definitely.
And have your backup option, but it really depends on them. Question two that I have for Cleveland is really surrounding their wide receiver depth. They have Amari Cooper, obviously. Donovan Peoples-Jones was pretty good last year. David Bell. Who do you think kind of emerges out of this group and can be a legitimate number two? Because, I mean, when you look at this, it's heavily teams will focus in on Amari and try to take him out of games and say, we'll let David Bell, we'll let Donovan Peoples-Jones, we'll let Anthony Schwartz if he can. We'll let those guys beat us. Obviously, they have David Njoku still at a tight end as well in the run game. But who do you see really standing out as the number two wide receiver?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the obvious one in Donovan Peoples-Jones, just because, man, the choices aren't fantastic here. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a pretty good year last year. Baker seemed to really like throwing to Peoples-Jones. So it's like he's been in the system. He clearly has the head start to step up. And I would hope he's taking that mentality this year in stride and being like, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to step up. I haven't seen David Bell, Anthony Schwartz, Burner. This receiving core leaves a lot to be desired, honestly. If it's not Donovan Peoples-Jones, I have a hard time seeing who else. Maybe David Bell. It's tough. Honestly, it's really tough for me to see anyone outside of Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, I'm with you. If Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't the number two, then he's doing something wrong, to be honest, because David Bell comes out, he's on the PUP list, and I've never seen him play. Anthony Schwartz is fast, but I mean, this is real life and it's not Madden. We don't pick guys just because they're fast. So yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's been there the longest. He had some decent plays last year with Baker. So it's really, I don't know, can Jacoby Brissett find him? Can Deshaun Watson find him? But yeah, I find it hard to believe as well. It's Donovan Peoples-Jones or bust, really.
What I would really want for that passing game is to see David Njoku step up quite a bit and see the tight ends more involved as well.
Yeah, facts. David Njoku, show why they drafted him years back, right? Kind of show out. That would help as well, especially with shaky quarterback play. Expected to have that security blanket underneath to kind of hit and be that reliable guy. Last question for the Browns is, can that defense be good enough to maybe steal a couple games that on paper we have them losing until Watson can get back? Obviously, we saw Watson, what was it, last night? Pretty rough showing out there. It's been a while since he played football, and then it's looking like he's going to take more time off. So can the defense be good enough to maybe put them in a position to be a playoff team by the time Deshaun Watson gets back, if he does actually get back?
On paper, they certainly are. I don't think they're going to be honest. I like the front. I like their secondary. Linebackers are all right. It's just that I think out of the AFC North, there's four good defenses. I think this is this defense is closer to the bottom. I like the team. We just talked about the Steelers more than this. They definitely have the ability to, though. Like I said about the Steelers, like on paper, it'd be disrespectful to say that they couldn't. They definitely can. You have elite studs rushing the passer, and I like their secondary a lot. That is enough on its own to steal some games. But I just think the Browns are going to have some dysfunction between the quarterbacks and like a lot of question marks surrounding the organization. I do feel there's a little arrogance there when they trot out Jacoby Brissett, because I do think that's what's going to happen, right? And it's certainly possible. I just think there's going to be so much vitriol towards the Browns. We already saw it last night in the preseason game against Jacksonville. Jaguar fans, out of all people, were giving Deshaun in that offense. They were chanting some not kind things about him. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way about the Cleveland Browns this year, and they certainly have the ability to do it. I just think there's going to be so much turmoil that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I like the edge rushers. I like the secondaries I mentioned at the top. Linebackers, so okay, not the greatest. thing. But yeah, just so many, the resentment of this franchise, they've kind of dug themselves a hole. It's crazy. They kind of popped out 2 years ago when they made the playoffs. Everybody was like, it was like a feel good story for the Browns who watched them suck for so long. And then last year happens and then they go out and do this. And it's like, everybody's right back on. Yeah. Nobody likes the Browns, but yeah, their defense could, I don't think it will. It's gonna be too tough. The quarterback, the Jacoby Brissett situation is gonna suck so bad that their offense, I think, is gonna be pretty damn bad, and it's just gonna put too many reps on the defense. So I like their defense on paper. I like the edge rushers, like the secondary, but I don't think they will be able to steal enough games in a tough conference, tough division. And yeah, too much. Yeah, sucks to suck, Cleveland, I would say. That's really all I have for the Cleveland Browns, right? It's really a wait and see situation. It's even tough to talk about them without knowing 100% like the Watson situation, what the actual penalty is gonna be. But overall, we kind of settled on he'll get 10 games. We assume it's going to get popped up. So when I went through into their record, I had them at 5-12. I think it's going to be a long year in Cleveland. It's gonna be a long, tough year, but you kind of dug yourself that hole. You knew what was coming when they made that trade for Watson. They knew that this could potentially happen. So they're gonna have to spend the whole year, dealing with it, and it'll be interesting to see if they are as arrogant and they just want to sit back and ride with Jacoby Brissett, because Houston would love that. Houston's celebrating, right? They got rid of Watson. They're about to get the picks. They're obviously in a rebuild, but they have Cleveland draft capital. So I have them going 5-12. It's gonna be a long year in Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I got them 5-12, tough division, like I alluded to earlier. There's a lot of vitriol for the Browns right now because of the Deshaun Watson stuff. They knew what they were getting into. Bright future for the Browns after this year, no matter how you feel about it. But this year, I think it's going to be a roller coaster. I think they're going to find themselves having way more downs than ups.
For sure. I think, yeah, it's going to be, it's bright on paper. I don't know. It's going to be tough because they're going to be so hated. And then, I mean, everywhere. You imagine nobody's going to take it easy on Deshaun Watson probably for the rest of his career, because he's just going to be a laughing stock. But screw the Browns. They're going to suck. They're back to sucking. Let's move on to Baltimore Ravens. They went 8-9 last year. Obviously, they got absolutely decimated by injuries. That was pretty unfortunate. We watched basically everybody on their team go down. All their running backs got hurt. Marcus Peters got blown up. We watched the entire roster get shredded, but now they're back. Obviously changes out wide at wide receiver. They sent Hollywood to Arizona. That's interesting to see how that plays out. He came off a 1,000-yard season last year. So I don't know how that will affect Lamar. Obviously they went Tyler Limbo in the they add him to the center. Ronnie Staley's still there. He's on the PUP list, so the O-line's there. Obviously, I expect heavy Mark Andrews, to be honest. This is going to be the Mark Andrews, like big Mark Andrews. When you're willing to get rid of Hollywood, you're kind of investing that, we're going to get back to the old style. We're going to run J.K. Dobbins. We're going to run our running backs if they can all stay healthy and get back to that old style, which I like. Lamar, obviously, is still there. Contract in limbo. I doubt they get anything done now that we're kind of into preseason. So that'll be interesting to watch. Will he ball out? How will he play, as I mentioned? And then defense, Patrick Queen, you got Tyus Bowser, Marcus Peters should be coming back. They went out big signing Marcus Williams from New Orleans. I love that as the safety. And they get Kyle Fuller as well with Marlon Humphrey. So their corners on paper, if Marcus Peters can come back and do what he used to do, they have a pretty good setup out there. They get Calais Campbell as well. So I like that up front. I like this roster. Questions at wide receiver for sure. When you look at the Ravens, can Lamar, who is Lamar going to click with when you look at taking Hollywood out there? You seem to have a connection with him. Hollywood never really technically fit their offense the way I looked at it. I think he's a better fit out there with Kyler throwing bombs to him than he is with Lamar. But he had a 1,000-yard year. You take him out of the offense. So, I mean, can Lamar kind of find a wide receiver to click with, taking Hollywood out of there? And then obviously they have Mark Andrews, but I'm looking specifically at the wide receivers. What guys can kind of jump out and build that chemistry?
Yeah, not to scapegoat the question, I do think we'll see a lot of Nick Boyle as well, like just two tight ends for sure. But specifically the receiver question. I think it's Rashad Bateman. He likes Bateman. He had some really flash moments last year. Real fast guy. Devin Duvernay is a real fast guy. I think he's going to have his moments, but I definitely feel like Rashad Bateman is the guy to step up to the Hollywood Brown role. And I think Bateman is actually in line to have a really good season. I'm not saying he's going to put up elite wide receiver one numbers, but I think he'd get close to 1,000 yards for sure. If not, get over it. It's on Lamar, right? They're obviously going to use a lot of running backs out the backfield, a lot of tight ends, but it's on Lamar to get one of these receivers going as well. He showed many times, as good as that connection with Brown was, that they struggle getting it going at times as well. But I definitely think it's Rashad Bateman, and it's his to lose right now as the wide receiver one. I think he has a lot of potential, and I think he's that guy. And I think that is why Baltimore felt okay losing Brown. I think it was a smart decision by this franchise. They always tend to make smart decisions, but I definitely think Rashad Bateman is the guy.
Yeah, I would agree. Rashad Bateman kind of popped a little bit last year, and he just seems like the most likely candidate out of this group. The other guys, I mean, Devin Duvernay has done a little bit. He had like 300 yards last year. James Prochet, I've never really seen him pop. Yeah, so I mean, I would agree. I forgot Nick Boyle back there. I expect them to really get back to old Ravens football that we've seen, I think 2 years ago. They went a little bit way more passing. They're kind of forced to, because the running backs are just that bad when you're trotting out Le'Veon Bell and like dudes like that, and Devontae Freeman. They were just kind of forced to. But yeah, I'd say Rashad Bateman as well. I don't know if I'm jumping for joy by saying that if I'm a Ravens fan. But yeah, I mean, moving Hollywood, not the end of the world, because it just signals, hey, we're going to get back to what we were running when Lamar Jackson won the MVP, right? And what we're going to do more of that. So I expect heavy Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, a lot of running. But yeah, Rashad Bateman should stand out amongst those three. And if he doesn't, then I'd be shocked. I don't know. It might be a rough year on the passing. All right, when we look back at, so as I mentioned, the Ravens, as we known them when Lamar won the MVP, they were super ground and pound, run heavy, control the clock, just beat defenses down with that run game and continue to move the chains. Do you think they can get back to that? And do you think their running back depth will hold up this year? Obviously, if they're going to run like that, J.K. Dobbins coming off a knee, Gus Edwards on the pup. They have Mike Davis from Atlanta. So do you think they can get back to that successful of a run game? And do you think their running depth will hold up?
Yeah, I definitely think they do. They were just, man, was that so unfortunate last year to just lose everybody at once. J.K. Dobbins seems like he's primed, ready to go. He keeps saying how his rehab's going fantastic. He'll be back week one. And I just 100% believe in this Ravens team. I think they're going to get right back to where they were. They were still a pretty good football team last year, considering everything that happened. I think we are going to see old school Ravens football, a lot of running the ball, physical, Lamar Jackson out the backfield, play action to Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, mixed in. But I think we're going to see a very run-heavy offense, old school Ravens football. They're going to get back to what they do best.
Facts. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if the running backs will hold up. As we see, they just get beat up. But yeah, I mean, I expect them to do what they did so well 2 years ago and just utilize Lamar to the fullest. It'll be interesting to see how if he's willing to run as much, knowing that, hey, man, I'm one hit away from not getting breaded. Obviously, you saw other quarterbacks get paid this offseason. He wanted to be one of those guys, but he seems to still be showing up. But yeah, I expect him to get back to that old style of football that just wears down defenses, and it keeps their defense on the sideline fresh. And it just does their thing. That's the way they have to do it. It was kind of, they won 8 games last year, not playing like that after everybody went down. So I'd imagine getting back to that. And then if Lamar is able to get a couple of those guys out wide, going at least a little bit, that, I mean, the sky's the limit really for the Ravens. But I just like the program. When you got John Harbaugh, Greg Roman, they're going to find a way to bring it back to where it needs to be offensively.
And sorry to cut you up, just to mention, the depth at running back, but just to the point of the Ravens program, I know it's not ideal, but we saw last year, I just feel like you can plug anyone in that backfield. If you got Lamar in that offensive line and everything else going, it's going to be productive.
For sure. And then as you see way down there, they got a guy, a proven champion in Corey
Yep.
Clement in the backfield. I mean, when you add a guy like that, that really brings integrity to your running back room. So that's what we like to see. But yeah, I mean, they have enough of them. We just have to see, can everybody hold up? They've been fine so far. And hopefully they do. And then last question is Ravens. I mentioned it with the Steelers as well. They're usually stout defensively. They're usually top 10 units. They were, I mean, obviously through the Ray Lewis era, the Ed Reed era, they're usually top 10 defensive units. And if you're going to run the ball, it's usually going to be running and defense. Can they get back? Can they get back into the top 10? They finished 19th last year, one spot above the Steelers, obviously with all the injuries. I kind of like them personally to get back and make that jump into the top 10, top 5 over a team like Pittsburgh, just because you got a guy like Lamar playing quarterback. But do you think they can make that jump and get back to the old Ravens on defense as well?
I think they can as well. And it's like my same cop out with Pittsburgh is like, it's just, they're so talented. And I love your point about the quarterbacks and the offense helping the defenses. Cause like having Lamar Jackson in that Baltimore offense, and especially Baltimore offense, cause it's so run heavy. So they're constantly eating the clock up and they have such a high time of possession that it helps this defense out tremendously. And I think that's going to really help them. My only concern with this defense is like, Marcus Peters, Tyus Bowser. We're talking about guys that have really big roles, like coming off injury. Like, I feel like they'll be fine. Like, I always put my faith in the athletes with the modern medicine and how hard they train. But that's really my only real concern is, like, are the dudes returning from injury going to be the same? Outside of that, I like this unit a lot.
Yep, I like their defense a lot, and you're spot on. I was literally going to say that same thing: is can we expect the same Marcus Peters to show up and be back there? Can we expect guys like Tyus Bowser? Can we expect guys like Calais Campbell, who are aging, to still be as good as they've always been? But I'm going to lean yes. The Ravens program, it's just such a solid program with John Harbaugh that it's hard to say, yeah, now these guys are going to suck. But, and as I already mentioned, I love when you get Kyle Fuller, Marlon Humphrey, and then Peters when he gets back. You have Kyle Hamilton, who's kind of just sitting back there. Well, it'd be interesting to see what role. He did get torched by an undrafted guy in training camp. He looks slow as shit, to be honest. I was amazed. They do have David Ojabo as well. He's coming off the Achilles at the workout. Don't know if he'll play. If he has Cam Akers doctors, he'll be back by week 6. But it's interesting, but they just have so much talent, and the program's so good, and the offense is good enough to do maybe what a Steelers team won't be able to do, which is keep that defense fresh at all times. And yeah, the sky's the limit. I do expect the Ravens to jump back into the top 10 as long as as long as they stay healthy.
And just to mention, like, we're speaking about units and like the program of football, like the Ravens always have a really good special teams unit too. And like they have the best kicker in the game. Yes, those influence the game a little less, but like you want all facets of your team to be really good. And that's what Baltimore has going on.
Exactly. Yeah, you see the teams that are consistently good, they have good programs. You look at the shit show teams, they don't have that. From front office down to it starts in the front office ownership. Yeah, I like what the Ravens have, and that's why when I went through their record, I have the Ravens going 11-6, which will win the AFC North. I just like kind of how their schedule shakes out. They get a couple easier games. You get a Jags game. I think they get a luck of the draw, like a Denver game at home, and have Denver coming across the country. It kind of just shook out well for them, and I have them. They'll stay healthy and they'll go 11-6, and Lamar will get his money after the season. It's funny that I have this old tweet before you do your record about Lamar when he got drafted. I said that I did not think he'd be a successful NFL quarterback. And then our buddy Blaine, he like pulled it up out of the blue like 2 days ago. And I was like, damn, dude. And then it's funny because right after that very next year, he wins MVP. I don't know. Random. We're on the Ravens. That came to my mind. It was just hilarious to read that. But yeah, so I think 11-6 and Lamar does his thing. The Ravens win the division.
That's hilarious. I think we've all been there, like truly invested in a take that couldn't be any more wrong. I know I've been there. That's funny. I love this Ravens team. I got them finishing 12-5. So I guess a little bit of a spoiler. Second in the division. I think it's gonna be very close. I like Cincinnati a lot, just above them, but 12-5, 4-2 in the division, a wild card team. And honestly, sky's the limit. The Baltimore Ravens could 100% represent the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. They're not the favorite, but they're definitely in contention.
For sure. That AFC it's stacked. This division stacked at the top. The AFC as a whole is stacked at the top. And that's where we bring us to Zach Taylor's Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, I mentioned to open this, they were the AFC representative in the Super Bowl last year. It was one hell of a run. It was kind of a run that really surprised everybody. It shocked the hell out of me to see that, Joe Burrow coming off a major knee injury kind of hit his stride, went crazy. Jamar Chase, we saw what he did. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon back there. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, they're still trotting out guys like Eli Apple, Chidobe Awuzie is there, Mike Hilton. Jesse Bates is the big question mark back there at safety. He was he was an integral part of the defense. They did draft Dax Hill of, I want to say, Michigan, but it's hard to say that a guy like that will be able to just trot in and replace a proven player. And then when you look at the O-line, they really invested. They went out, got La'el Collins from Dallas. They brought in Alex Kappa from Tampa Bay. I was kind of shocked to see Kappa, not be in the know with Tom and leave Tom, but he did it. He goes up and he says, Joe Burrow is going to be around a little bit longer. I'm not going to sign a deal with Tom, and Tom's going to retire and then come back. Obviously, Jackson Carman, he kind of sucks. So the O-line, they did invest quite a bit. I mean, so on the first question when I have about the Bengals is, how did they top last year? And was it just a lucky run? There's a lot of people out there that'll say it was a lucky run. You play that Kansas City game 10 times, that's the one time that they win. So how did they top last year? How did they stay fresh, hungry? And it was last year. Was it a lucky run, or is this going to be the new norm in Cincinnati?
I don't think it was a lucky run. I'm not going to say new norm, because winning the AFC every year is damn hard. I do think making regular playoff appearances is going to be the new norm. I love what the Cincinnati Bengals did, adding to their offensive line. Their defense is pretty damn good. I got some question marks there. I'm not as confident in them as those two previous teams, but I still really like them. And I think they got the best quarterback in the division, which is really saying something. But I think Joe has just shown so much to do what he did with that offensive line last year. And then you're going in with an improved offensive line. And the reason I feel so good about the Bengals is because they have that confidence and swagger now from last year. They know that they were supposed to be there. They beat the Chiefs twice last year, not just in the AFC Championship game. They beat them late in the season too, which was also really impressive. And not to mention, Buffalo Bills, the heavy favorite for the AFC. We rave about them, right? They did what Buffalo couldn't do last year, stop them in overtime. They got the ball back. They went down and scored. Incredibly impressive. I just think the Bengals have all the tools. They have the ability to be the number one offense in the league with these weapons and that quarterback. And I'm not sure who's winning the AFC quite yet. I do think the Bengals are good enough. They're going to repeat and show the world that it was not just lightning in a bottle, that they are here and they're going to be here for a little while.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, I mean, I hate to say lucky run. Joe Burrow's just that good, right? He exploded. He does his thing. He's just so confident in himself, and that kind of it falls off onto the other guys around him on that team. You see just the swag that team kind of has, and it was super fun to watch. So I don't like to say lucky run. They just, they executed at the right time is what I'll say. They found a way, as you mentioned, to do what Buffalo couldn't do. They didn't need to change the rules and switch it up and do this and do that. They did what everybody said was impossible. Stop Kansas City, beat them in Kansas City, and go into the Super Bowl. Obviously, top last year. The only way you top last year is you got to win the damn thing, which is incredibly hard to do when you come back. And you still got to face Pat Mahomes again. You got the Herberts of the world. You got the Josh Allens of the world. You got Lamar in your own division. There's just a lot going on out there in the AFC and alone in their division. But no, I don't think last year was a lucky year. I don't like to say that. They executed everything, kind of clicked at one time. I love the additions they made on the O-line. How will it pan out? We'll wait and see. But no, I would not say that it was lucky. They did it all. And Joe Burrow, that dude's a confident guy. You know what I mean? Next question that I really have about the Bengals is, what did they do about the Jesse Bates kind of thing? He was an integral part of their defense. When he's not showing up, he wants to get paid. They've said, I think they gave him some like wild ass offer, if I'm not mistaken. But it's hard to say a guy like Dax Hill is just going to trot in and be able to do what he's done? So, I mean, what's the deal? Is he going to get moved? There's been rumors moved to, I don't know. I've heard even the Eagles rumored to trade for him. I don't know how that'll work out, but what's going on back there? Because that really is the question. I mean, that's outside of, can the O-line keep Joe Burrow protected? He was sacked 51 times last year. You assume they will. It's what do they do on defense? Because the defense, I want to say, finished 17th last year. So they kind of need a little bit more out of the defense. And yeah, what do they do with Jesse Bates? I mean, there's kind of some questionable things along this entire defense, but especially him not showing up and looking to probably hold out, maybe not show up at all.
Yeah, there's definitely some question marks defensively for me at certain positions. The Jesse Bates thing, I think, is a real issue, and it kind of brings into the bigger picture of the Cincinnati Bengals. They're like one of the least valued NFL franchises. That might change over the next decade if Joe Burrow has a fantastic run, right? But as of right now, they have a cheap owner that's been notorious, and like I could totally see the owner not wanting to pay for things and just like mess up what they have going. That's what really makes me nervous. If I'm the Bengals, I pay the man, right? I don't think Dax Hill can just come in and like not miss a beat. The Bengals do what they do. I think they would miss Jesse Bates. I think it would show. What they do have going for them is that our constant theme of this episode really is the offense helping the defense, right? And they have like the best offense to help the defense. Joe Burrow can really dominate and keep time of possession because they can do it with Joe Mixon on the ground or through the air. The Bengals really have it going. But the Jesse Bates thing legitimately worries me. If he's not like on the field week one playing for him, I think they'll be not significantly, they'll be a worse defense for sure. It will hurt them.
Facts. I worry about dudes, just holding out and then just showing up. I don't know what they're doing on the side, but yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, I didn't even really think about their ownership and wording that is, their ownership has been cheap. I mean, they just sold the naming rights to the stadium to make some bucks. So they're kind of, I mean, I would pay him as well, right? You still don't have the Joe Burrow deal done, but you pay him and then you worry about, you get the Burrow deal done. You're going to eventually get that done anyway. To kind of build up the best roster while he's still on that rookie deal. I wouldn't necessarily break bank. But yeah, I just think keeping this group together, right? Why not keep this group happy, keep everybody together, and then run back, which I had last year. Obviously, you want your defense to take another leap, but to take a guy like him out of it, it kind of hurts them because I don't know. I mean, you'll have Bengals fans out there that'll say, we don't need Jesse Bates. He isn't that good. Like Dax Hill coming and do that. And then, I mean, how do you know that, right?
It would be the most Cincinnati Bengals thing ever to like simply
mess this up.
Yeah, because they just don't want to pay, right? Cincinnati needs to realize they haven't been to the Super Bowl since '84. Like all those good Ocho Cinco teams didn't really win anything. All the AJ Green, Andy Dalton teams didn't really win anything. So like Carson Palmer was good, but like this is different, man. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and that whole squad, like they have something really special here. And like it would be very Bengals-esque to mess it up by simply not paying.
That's facts. I don't know. Yeah. Any other, I mean, I hope they don't do that. They were super fun to watch last year. For sure. I mean, I don't know. Their corners definitely worry me as well. Anytime I see Eli Apple on the depth chart, and I mean, it's just I don't know any other way to shake it. The offense, I'm not worried about the offense anymore. They went out and addressed the big part that they had to do, getting the O-line. So I mean, my last question was, can that O-line will they actually keep him protected? I think they'll do a pretty damn good job of it. I'd like to see some more slides out of Joe. You don't need to go do diving plays and go crazy, right? He's a gamer. He's been doing that since he went to LSU, but I don't think he needs to do that. But I mean, yeah, that's my last question is, will this new O-line, will they hold up? Will they keep Joe Burrow protected and keep the face of the franchise set?
I think they will. I'm impressed with their moves. I love the Lyle Collins, Alex Kappa, even the New England Ted Karras. It's just that was clearly the biggest weak point of this team. And to give some credit to the ownership, I do feel like they're kind of flipping mentality a little bit because they went out and addressed what they needed to address. I really didn't think they would get it all done like that so fast. It's not like the Cincinnati Bengals to be efficient. So, like, that's really good to see as a Bengals fan. If you're a Bengals fan, and like, yeah, they have to do it. I think they're going to, and like, you got such a stud back there, and every team saw what Indianapolis did to Andrew Luck. No one wants to repeat that. So I definitely think the offensive line is going to keep them upright, and they're going to have a really good year, I feel like.
Yep, I'm with you. They should be able to. If you pay money and they're not better, then I don't know. But yeah, I think they will be able to keep Joe protected. Hopefully Joe slides a little bit more. But yeah, their offense is just that damn good. It was that damn good last year with the shitty O-line. And now you add three solid three pieces to it. It's hard to say that they're going to be worse. But I mean, yeah, it's crazy that the Bengals are hard to drum up stuff for too, because we just need to see that O again, right? We just need to see Joe and them guys, and just hope the ownership isn't sitting there counting pennies. And they pay these guys, because you have such a unique duo, almost trio, if you add in T. Higgins with those three plus Joe Burrow, and then we didn't even really mention Joe Mixon. They have something seriously going. But as you said, it's not out of the Bengals mold to find a way to mess this up. So I mean, hopefully they don't do it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope they're self-aware enough to know that, like, how talented this roster is right now, how special it is. They have probably the best receiving group in football, right? And I know that those three guys are close. I've seen them on some other podcasts talking, Higgins, Boyd, and Chase, and they're on record talking about how they want to be the first trio to each have 1,000 yards. And like, I'm sorry, but that's not unrealistic. That's definitely possible. So hopefully the Bengals are self-aware to just how damn special this group really can be.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hopefully they keep it going. That's really all I had on the Bengals. It's, as I said, it's tough. They just have to do more of the same, right? Just do more of what they did last year, keep Burrow upright, and hopefully the defense kind of takes some steps. Hopefully they figure out the Jesse Bates thing. Hopefully, I don't know, Eli Apple steps it up. He talks a lot of trash, but the play is not there. So overall, they went 10-7 last year. I had them repeating going 10-7 as well. I just think not that they're going to take a step back, but the schedule obviously ratchets up a little bit. First place schedule, and they drew a couple tough games. So I had them going 10-7. Should be good enough to get them back into the dance as a wild card team. And then what do you know? When you get back in there, everybody starts 0-0, and you find a way to make that run again. Can they drum up the magic? But yeah, I just think the schedule gets a little bit tougher. Not necessarily that they take a step back. So I have 10-7 for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I am super high on Cincinnati. I'll be honest. I have them 13-4, tough schedule or not. I think them and the Bills are going to have the two best records in the AFC. I think the Bills will get the 1 seed because I got them beating Cincinnati in Cincinnati week 17 to secure home field advantage for the AFC. I just like this Cincinnati team a lot. I think they're coming in to this season with a swagger, with an attitude that like they should be there. I just think Joe Burrow and that group is going to be able to cover up what little holes the defense has. And yeah, sky's the limit for Cincinnati. Tough schedule and all. Like, Joe just showed so much last year on that run. Like, I bought in. So I think they're going to be right there, them and the Bills, for the 1 seed.
This 13, was that 13?
That's big.
That is big. Right now, their line, the Vegas line is at 10, and over 10 is plus 100, under 10 minus 120, slight favorite. I like them right at 10. I feel like it's a good notch with the schedule, gets them back into the playoffs. But kind of any closing thoughts on this division? It's really going to be exciting, really, to see the Ravens and the Bengals, hopefully at full strength, kind of battle it out, and then kind of see where the Steelers are at, if they can get enough good enough quarterback play to kind of mask their problems. And then we'll really find out, was Big Ben the big issue last year?
Yeah, all those things right there with you. Because, like, once again, if the Steelers can get good quarterback play, they haven't been able to throw the ball down the field, extend plays. If Mitchell Trubisky can bring that, then man, sky's the limit. This is such a fun division. Even Cleveland, right? Like, I'm not rooting for Cleveland at all, and they have a bunch of turmoil. But let's say Deshaun plays. Let's say their season's not good, but like the last 6 games that Deshaun plays, those are going to be real interesting to see how good they really are in those last 6 games for the next year. So AFC North is going to be really, really fun to watch.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to be a wrap for today's show. Thank you all for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment. As always, we like to hear feedback, whether it's on Twitter at Take3Sports. You can rip us on there, rip us in the comments. I love to read that stuff. We haven't got one in a while, but usually it's some fun banter. And as always, Spotify link will be in the description if you're an audio only listener. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be a wrap. We'll see you guys next